Okay, let's take a look at this game. This seems like a far easier way to review than typing. Um, so I'll just click through the actions and comment as I go. Not sure who I saw was on the player draw, but this hand looks fine as a keeper. You do need a third land, obviously. Should be plenty of time for that, especially on the draw. Yeah, okay, this is going. Pretty pleased with that. And your 2 now? Yeah, that stops the 2-1. What did we surveil or scry, actually? I didn't notice. Or can I notice? Interesting. So I don't get to see what you did with the replay, but I assume you're a stellar player and made a correct choice. Alright, no 3 from them. So I'm thinking like we say the nay, or maybe the shield flying car is too sort of obvious. Maybe even ghost as well. It's an uncommon, but I don't think it gets played that much. They're not going to care about a combat trick because you're not attacking with the 1-3. So. Oh, you are attacking with the 1-3. Interesting. So maybe this is a contentious point. Like, I guess it means that if they do block and combat trick away your synthesoid while keeping your guy alive, you still have either the token or the deployment drone. I'm not sure this is a play that is worth not risking, but like they can also just go no blocks. Your 1 damage from the synthesoid is 2 damage potentially coming back with lifelink. So it sort of negates this attack a bit. I think just because they have the capacity to gain life, like I'm thinking about we say the nay here as well. I'm not sure if I mentioned that already. But like because they have the capacity to gain life, I think the safer play is just don't attack with the synthesoid. In case something goes wrong when you cast your deployment drone. Okay, so that I think is one area where we put ourselves behind a little because they're negating the damage that you've done. Koye, yeah. Do I get to see? No, I still don't get to see what you surveil. Alright, so we know there's plenty of turns left, so lots of game decisions. Here, what am I thinking? The options I'm going through are Iron Man as both a blocker, and next turn you can play the Crimson Dynamo to trigger it when you attack. You could also play the Crimson Dynamo, and a sequence of like land and 2-drop among the top 2 cards of your deck lets you play 2 spells next turn. I think the play is just Iron Man attack with Doombot because that's not blocking. Yeah. So they web up Iron Man. Yeah. Take the damage. Here, I'm pretty certain I'm casting Crimson Dynamo. Like, I want to be able to just draw a land to play the Kree Sentinels, but I could see a temptation to go cycle the Sentinels, play Ghost, but Ghost isn't impacting this board so much. The Crimson Dynamo also, Crimson Operative does block a pumped up Brawler. You still need to attack with Doombot, and I'm kind of hoping they go Helicarrier Strike to use it on a card that doesn't matter instead of something that does. I'm on Crimson Operative here. Okay, so we agree with that. We get a removal spell. They spin their wheels a bit. Interesting. I shouldn't have clicked so fast. This block is interesting. I guess the Dynamo doesn't have great attacks. The thing is, our board presence is so small now. I'd be hoping to use Truck Toss next turn to kill either Okoye, maybe even the Lifelinker, probably Okoye. And I'd like to keep the potential for the prowess guy around. This might be a question of, like, who's the beatdown, who's the control. And I guess they're the beatdown at the moment, so the block does make sense in that way. But the Dynamo is also helping me hold off his 1/1s. I think you can afford to take the hit here. I don't think that block, while it's justifiable, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's, like, so important to offer this trade and be on 15 instead of 12. No spell from them. So nothing in combat, nothing main phase. That's interesting. So we draw that. This is kind of another reason why I think not blocking with the Dynamo. Like, for one, there's take up the shield problem, but then, yeah, they could always have that later. But number two now, do we really want to play Truck Toss against the 2/1 or some 1/1s? Whereas the 3/2 would be a much better target, and I think paying 3 life to have a Crimson Dynamo in play now looks like a pretty good deal. I'm not 100% about this, but I can also see the rationale. Just don't skip on the value you're offered a free card, so just accept it. So they've still got nothing. I'm trying to think through the kind of cards they could have, like something expensive. Borrow Back Up they could have cast last turn. Obviously some of the rares like Captain Marvel, or maybe something expensive or time sensitive that they don't really have the need to cast just yet, like Atlantis Attacks. But the other curious thing, okay, they had 2 mana tapped. I thought they could activate the Futurist Forge. Okay, so they draw, deliberately tapping their mana to leave a blue open. Okay. That's interesting. Just draw and do nothing. Okay. Here, I think I'm attacking with both. And I'm fetching a land with the Kree Sentinel. Then have the ability to play Ghost, and then next turn I can play Falcon, or if we draw a land I can play Hulk. Yeah, looking back, I think the Dynamo being here maybe changes how their game is getting played. Like, maybe they don't activate the Futurist Forge and they kind of feel the need to commit one of the 4 spells they already have. Yeah, I'm glad that happened. So we attack in with both. Deployment Drone, get them with Ghost. They play Wasp, yeah, that's all fine. Wolverine is a very good draw here. So what do? Do we just hit Wasp and attack, I guess? Oh, you don't? That's interesting. I'm quite surprised at that. Using the mana is good, but because we kill Wasp, we free up Ghost to attack unblockable. Wolverine also gets in, so we're attacking for 5, and they don't have good blocks. That gets them to 9. And then next turn, we can potentially, like, Trickster's Stratagem on Ghost. That makes it a 3-turn clock. Plus the Wolverine to deal with. I like having Wolverine on the board more than I like the Falcon, I think. That's my main argument. So they play the Security Officer, and they take out... When did the flash happen on the Doombot? I must have missed that ages ago. Oh, no, that's next action. We want to go back. Oops. Oh, I've just seen a bunch of spoilers now. Okay. So... You play Falcon, they play the Rough Security Officer and pass with 4 mana up. It's like all the various combat tricks and like we say the nay and flash cars and things like that, they're all considerations, but there's quite a number of them. It's difficult to play around them all, and there's one I always forget. Oh yeah, Red Guardian. That's another one to get got by. So draw the land, play the land, attack with Doombot mana activation. See, I'm not sure about that. I understand you've got ways to spend mana on the board, but the Raft Security Officer can just lock down Doombot indefinitely, even if you pump. And also spending all that mana to pump is a risk. We see why. I think it's not necessary, like, just going Wolverine, fight the security officer, or even fight the deployment drone and then attack with Wolverine and 3 flyers. If they've got take up the shield to keep their guy alive, it does sort of neuter the attack a bit, but you get it out of their hand, you still have Wolverine in play. I'm annoyed I misclicked through the forward actions instead of previous because it does spoil it a bit since I know what happens. But I think this is just a risk factor. Like, not even considering the uncommon, but just Helicarrier Strike absolutely destroys this turn sequence for you and in their favor. It's just that you've spent 6 mana to not do anything. I think it's difficult because you play Wolverine, maybe they have We Say Thee Nay. You play Trickster Stratagem, trying to think of the hex. There's no hexproof. There's the super suit that flashes in and untaps. Maybe the Stratagem is actually the better play because there are fewer cards that kind of interact with it cleanly. But I think of the choices, activating the Doombot is very much the riskiest. I don't think there was a need, much like the block with the Crimson Dynamo earlier. I don't know if there was a need to activate the Doombot. It can just sit there. You've got more impactful things than adding 3 +1/+1 flying counters to the board in your hand. So that gets taken. They take 3, go to 6, or take 3, go to 11. This comes in, I assume they just grow it? No. Alright, that's really suspicious. I guess they want to make sure they can raft Security Officer on your Falcon. That's the only thing I can think. I still want to play Wolverine here. I think it's now the 3rd turn we've chosen, had the ability to play him, and I would be surprised if you don't. I could see the Hulk, but the Security Officer does tap that down. Attacking first, sure. I don't think Stratagem on any of their creatures is better than one of your other plays, so the only thing would be Wolverine on the Security Officer to try and see if that kills it and then attack. At least you'll get some information from stuff like Take Up the Shield. Right? They have the Helicarrier Strike as one of their other tricks. Wolverine does play around that. It's Take Up the Shield that's the problem, but like there's several instances where they could have cast that earlier if they had it. Yikes. Okay. It does sort of feel like they had the correct answer to each of the sequences all the way through. Like, Web Up, Flash Spell, earlier We Say Thee Nay, Helicarrier Strike, the second one. Like, maybe you're seeing Wolverine as important enough that you don't want to risk it getting countered, and that one of the ways that you close out the game is them not having the tapper and Wolverine kind of battling through all of their creatures one by one. So I'm just skipping. Where am I going? So they play the security officer. So I'm going to here, and you draw that. If you cast Trickster Stratagem on the security officer, for instance, what's their likely play? Probably tapping Falcon. If you go to combat and they don't tap Falcon and let you attack, that does sort of scream Helicarrier Strike. So if you have the option to attack and they don't choose to use the officer, maybe the play is just do nothing. It's the question of, do you want to try and get it out of their hand? And post-combat here, I think a Wolverine play, or even pre-combat, a Wolverine play probably draws out the counterspell, if that's what we're worried about, or it draws out a take up the shield, if that's what we're worried about. Red Hulk gets countered. That's quite irritating. They go Herbie. Now they can start attacking. So Lightning Strike Wolverine doesn't seem bad. I like going to the attack first. Wolverine eats. I guess it needs to eat a flyer. Yeah. And for 3. And then Kang. So we're targeting Kang. Ditching a Doom. No, we probably ditch a Mountain here. Yeah. Play the Doombot. Go to 2. They play land. So how are we dead here? The game has ended. You're on 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have no cards. The token can block Herbie, where you could just stratagem the 2/4 and put a counter on the bird. Then 2/4 is gone. Wolverine can block the 4/3. Doombot or bird can block Herbie. If they attack, they lose all their creatures and you go to 1. That doesn't seem like a great attack for them. We're not in a good spot, obviously, but we're not dead. To get back to the question of where the game might have been lost, I think there was a couple of critical points. The first one being here. This block. I think we can get away without that block. And that then gives a better target for Truck Toss, and perhaps the prowess from Crimson Dynamo changes things later in the game. Like this, when we're here, they're looking like they're the beatdown player. They've got the extra attack, or the extra creatures to attack with. Well, what am I trying to say here? The Synthezoid doesn't hold down the board. a land for them lets them pump the Brawler, which then gets through the Synthezoid. If we, I mean, the Doombot isn't blocking here, so it should be attacking. So yeah, just thinking through this, and sorry if I'm not being clear, but okay, the points where I think I would have made different decisions is, one, this attack, for the reasons I stated earlier. The second, and maybe even playing the Helicarrier or the shield deployment drone before attacking gives you enough information to go, okay, I'll just send in the Doombot. The second one, when they cast a Koi, I think they're now the aggressive player. I agree with the Iron Man play. I agree with the Doombot attack because that's not blocking. They're getting in damage. This is the block that I think, again, for the reasons I'd suggested, I would think is better not to do. I think you can manage not to lose the Dynamo here. And then, clicking through quickly, here I'm very much tempted to just play Wolverine. It's a removal spell for one of their creatures. They're tapped down. You know it's not, like, Helicarrier Strike is the only card that they can interact with now. It doesn't prevent one of their creatures from dying. You could just play Wolverine, kill the Wasp, and then offer a trade of Ghost versus Helicarrier Strike while Wolverine attacks. Or even kill the deployment drone, let Ghost just be a 2/2, and attack with everything. That's attacking for 7, and they would be attacking you back for 5 with comparable life totals. So they're Wolverine here, in the absence of any other play, puts them on a 2-turn clock. Your 7 damage over 2 turns would be enough. The Helicarrier Strike almost certainly takes out Ghost, but the ability then for you to catch up next turn with, well, now here's Falcon and another threat. To me, that's sort of, this turn you're adding a creature to the board while taking away one of theirs. Next turn you're adding 2 creatures to the board. You're kind of snowballing your board presence. So those are the 3 points I think that I would notice in this game. All right, hopefully that is as clear as mud. Let me know what you think.